In this episode, we put the straight six back in straight six van. Welcome to the channel. I'm Gary and Tommy. This is Straight Six Van, your home for offbeat hot rodding, and today we open a new chapter on offbeat hot rodding as we go back to my roots. I'm in my high school vehicle, the first vehicle I guess you say owned. Technically my parents owned it. Yeah, 1995 Ford F-150, 300 cubic inch inline six, 5-speed manual. If you missed how I came about finding my old truck, well, I'll leave an info card up over here for you to check out. But yes, now this vehicle, I'm driving about 20 miles home, 25 miles home from the previous owner's house to my house. And it'll reside at my house for, we'll say, a week, and then I'm going to take this back home to mom and dad. This is going to become a parts truck for their truck. They have another very similar 94 F-150. It's an automatic instead, but yeah, if you missed the history again on this truck and how that all came about, like, I go into much more detail in that other upload, so go check that out. But once we're done swapping all the good parts off of this truck onto mom and dad's truck, there are, let's just say, I'll just get into it. My dream, or what I think I'm going to do, is I'm going to pull the motor, and I'm going to rebuild the motor, and that motor's going to become the power plant for something else. Now, I don't want to tell you exactly what that something else is, because I think there are a lot of things that kind of have to fall in place for that to happen, so I don't want to make any promises I can't keep, right? So anyway, it's kind of exciting. It doesn't run as smooth as I remember it 13 years ago, that's for sure. It's a bona fide beater right now, but maybe you can hear that. It's like driving a wheat truck, but it's back, and I am driving my original high school vehicle right now, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, stay tuned. When we get it home, I'm going to do a complete walk around just how bad condition this truck is in. Again, it's from 1995 to 2021. What's that, 16 years, so, or 26 years, yikes. So yeah, it's seen better days for sure. But I suppose before I do a walk around, I should give you my real-time impressions of this thing. And well, steering's very loose. I can go pretty far before the thing actually moves. But surprisingly, it rides fairly smooth. Everything's pretty rattly. But as far as, like, and as soon as I say that, I hit a giant bump. The dash, the mount on the dash, the passenger side, was always loose when I owned it. So that's why you guys are probably bouncing around quite a bit. But as far as, like, road banners go, like, it actually kind of rides fairly smooth, oddly enough. Now, going uphill, it seems to struggle. I've got it pegged in 5th gear to climb over 55 miles an hour. But if I'm in it at 60 miles an hour or whatever ahead of time, it does all right. So anyway, just thought I'd drop in some impressions. Whatever. It's a beater. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You guys will see just how rough this is when I get home. Okay, we are home, and yes, this is my high school vehicle, a 1995 Ford F-150 single cab, long bed, 4.9 liter inline six, 5-speed manual. It was an old contractor truck. My dad, actually, it was his company truck for the construction company he worked for. So this vehicle, again, we go into this in that January episode, but it was in my family for 13 years. It was in somebody else's family for 13 years. Now it's back with the Straight Six Van family. But I'm going to do a complete walk around to show you guys the status quo, some features about the truck, things that are still cool about it all these years later, and things that are, well, pretty rough. So we'll start up front here, where you might have noticed by now this custom pre-runner bumper. It was summer of 2004, I believe. I was doing a double take on somebody in the lane next to me, thinking I knew who it was, and when I looked forward, there was a Honda Accord about this distance in front of me. So I slammed on the brakes, but as you might understand, the front of this truck ended up in his back seat. So the front was all mangled. Luckily, like, the transmission cooler was a little bit bent. That was about as bad as it got. Everything infrastructure-wise was fine. But the grill, you can see this is still the original grill. It got all cracked. I think I think I replaced at least one headlight orb, and then the rock shield I had to replace. You can see I never bothered to paint it. But me and Dad, over the following Christmas break, custom fabricated this pre-runner bumper because I knew I wanted to lift the truck at that point. And so instead of trying to spend money buying a bumper, we decided to make one. A little bit later, we added these shackles and D-rings. So I think at the very least, I'm going to be keeping these D-rings and building a custom bumper for my Tacoma. But we'll see. We'll see if Mom and Dad want to keep this bumper, because I guess that's the story that I want to get into before we keep going around the side. But seeing how rough this truck is in overall shape, it's going to make more sense for us to take all the best parts off of this thing and put them on Mom and Dad's truck. So if they want this bumper because it's kind of got some, you know, family heritage to it, that's fine. I don't know. I'm not that attached to it. I would be able to let go of it as long as I get to keep a piece of it, like the bumpers. You know, I might cut off the light bar or something. You know, that'd be kind of cool to transfer over to my Tacoma. But that's the short-term plan. Is in an upcoming episode, I will drive this, maybe not all the way to Wichita, but close to, and then my parents will figure out how to get it the rest of the way. But because driving it to 20-some miles home, it's you caught it there. It actually rides smooth, but I can tell you, like, going on curves and stuff, it's super sloppy in the steering. So we'll come around to the driver's side here, and you'll notice, I mean, this is a pretty typical area for this era of Ford truck to rust, but this was not starting when I let go of it in 2008. So that's pretty bad, as well as the cab corners. And this is probably the #1 reason why I would not let my parents take the best parts from their truck and put them over here, because their body's in way better shape than mine. But we'll get to the interior last. This had started rusting for sure when I had it. Another typical place for this era Ford truck. This had not. And then this giant dent here happened in an apartment parking lot after, I don't know. I just got out to my truck one day in college and giant dent in the side. So that, I have no idea exactly where it came from. I just know where it was when it came from. As you can see, this tailgate's super beat up because it was for, you know, let's see, 95 to 2001-ish. It was a construction truck, and so it was beat up pretty bad. Let me hold on. Needed a second hand to open the tonneau cover, which we'll get into in a second. But you can see the bed is pretty tore up, and it was always kind of like this from its time spent as a construction truck. So anyway, it's funny also, the previous owner mentioned this. When I upgraded to 31 10.5s on this truck after I lifted it, we'll talk about that in a second. I had to buy like a used tire for a spare, and after 13 years, same dry rotted tire is still the spare. So I guess he never had to use it. But hey, and it's on like a soft 8, I think Krager steel wheel, 15x8. So yeah, but this tonneau cover, so that was sort of the compromise. I went back and forth with my dad on it. I wanted a rhino liner to cover up all these scratches in the bed. He thought I would get more value out of a tonneau cover. I had a love-hate relationship with it, to be honest with you. I mean, there were times when it was super nice, especially in college, moving stuff back, like even just over Christmas break especially. You could throw a lot of stuff back here, keep it out of the weather, but when you needed to haul more, it was always a pain to figure out where you were going to store a steel reinforced fiberglass tonneau cover for a long bed. That was the most difficult part. Not too hard to take off. I mean, it was a 2-person job, but like these gas struts here, they just have like a little clip. You pop the clip off, and then there's like a little ball that these just, you know, friction fit on. So you just would pop these off, lower it, crawl into the back, pull the pins up front, and then as long as you had 2 people to lift it off, it was pretty easy to remove, and all in all. But that was one of the nice things that the previous owner, towards the end, I think I had one gas strut that had blown out, and so it didn't keep itself up. But he replaced those over the 13 years, so that's a super nice benefit. I think, grand scheme of things, if we can find someone out there interested in buying the tonneau cover, we'll recoup a lot of our cost from buying this thing as a parts truck. And yeah, but another way we'll recoup our cost, when I say we, it's because this is like, I bought it, mom and dad will pay me back, but I've told them I'm going to try to help them, you know, cancel all the costs out. And the number one way we're probably going to do that is these mud terrains, these 31-10-5 Goodyear Wrangler MTs. I mean, they still have the little, you know, what do you call those, on them. So their truck desperately needs new tires. You know, like these tires in this condition, you could probably put them on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace for $400. And we bought the whole truck for $650. And just tires alone, you're probably, you know, already making back that much. Under here, you can see the remnants of what used to be a dual exhaust. Came out the side of a MagnaFlow, you know, single into 2 muffler. And we'll fire it up, let you hear this thing later, but it's pretty rough. But yeah, I did that, and I can't remember. Nope. Okay, I thought I had deleted a cat, but I did not. So again, got some rust in the cab corners. This, now I do know on this side, I believe you could start seeing the little bubbles coming through on this side when I sold it. Or maybe it was up here, but I'd have to go back and look at some pictures. But the way these 31-10-5s fit best up front is I did have a 2.5-inch rough country lift kit on it, and you can see also under here, like, you know, a lot of people, they don't think Kansas belongs in the Rust Belt, and it doesn't, but you definitely can still get the worst of the worst rust issues here too if you're not careful. So rough country's got good quality stickers, it appears. Everything's rusted around it but the sticker. So yep, but twin I-beam front suspension, 2-wheel drive. Yeah, that's the outside. So let's take a look at the inside, and then we'll finish up with the power plant itself. All right, and inside, well, I can tell you this is probably where we're gonna make, or this is where the most value is gonna come from this truck for mom and dad too. Interior's in way better shape than their truck is. Door panels maybe aren't as, they're a little more faded than I thought, but I still think they're better than mom and dad's truck. Definitely a lot more secure. But I had put in Pioneer 6.5-inch speakers in the door, and we had Pioneer, well, you can't see it, but in the cab corners, the 6x8s. So I'm gonna definitely swap those over to mom and dad's truck. I did one of these eBay gauge, you know, stainless steel gauge overlays. I like it, but you know, whatever. This is an XL truck, but a buddy of mine in high school had an XLT that he hydroplaned, and so I stole his trim pieces because I always liked this look. It was silver with like kind of like some ribs in it, and then that matched, of course, my gauge pod. Pioneer head unit. Yeah, what else on the inside? I think that's about it for the inside as far as what I did customizing it. But oh, my buddy who had this truck, other thing I stole from that truck, or bought off of him really, was a 355 geared traction lock 8.8. So mom and dad's truck has the open diff 308s in it. That's something else I'd like to swap over, just because I know I paid for it. It's better. It's going to work better with their 31 tin 5s, because I think they still have their 235/75 R15s. But I mentioned this in that January video, but it's funny, just like the previous owner didn't remove my K-State sticker, my Rough Country Lift sticker, or my Eric Church sticker on the back window. So it's just, I mean, you talk about time capsule, and this is my life. This is a lot of my life. This was the inspiration for everything that is straight six fan and offbeat hot rodding all these years later. I had kind of known this was going to be the plan for my parents, was to buy my dad's old, well, we'll wait for that guy. To wait for my dad's construction company to upgrade his truck for him, and then he was just going to buy his old one off of them, because he would have known the vehicle's history. And I want to say mom and dad paid $2,800 for this, around, I think it was 2001, maybe 2002. I think 2001. And yeah, unfortunately I wasn't a very good son. I went through a lot of M5ODs in this thing. I was pretty hard on that transmission, power shifting, and doing things high school kids do. So mom and dad, if you're watching, I still feel bad about that. That was not the right thing to do. Oh, I do need to pop this hood as well. But yeah, what I was getting at was offbeat hot rodding. So because I knew I was going to wind up with a two-wheel drive truck, which was fine with me. I was into street trucks, sport trucks at the time. But knowing it was only gonna have an inline 6, I just sort of embodied, I was subscribing to CarCraft magazine at the time. And I guess I was just always of that opinion, like, okay, well, you know what, I don't have any control over this. But let's just try to make this as cool as possible. And so that's what offbeat hot rodding is all about. You may not end up with the vehicle that's the best starting point, but you can still make cool stuff out of this. And so that leads me into my next point. The long-term plan is to pluck the 4.9 liter out of here and to rebuild it, especially coming off the heels of Power Nation's 300 inline 6 turbo build that I think they crested 500 horsepower with. Yeah, this is, I'm totally motivated for this now. And so I think what I want to do is I'm going to pull it, and this is going to be the power plant to my first something else. I'm not going to tell you what that something else is yet, because again, there's just, it's probably not going to happen anytime stupid soon. But yeah, it's, the motor from my first vehicle will be the same motor in my first. You'll just have to wait and see. But under the hood, I did do a K&N fuel injection performance kit, which was literally just this element, almost. This bracket that you could make your own bracket. If you just bought this thing, like the majority of the kit was this. But I can tell you, this actually did an incredible amount to throttle response on this motor over the stock airbox. The snake oil that I put on, you might be able to spot the old Powerade, the pink, anodized pink or whatever their color is. So Powerade, I think, was the company name. Throttle body spacer, you know, I picked up 1 billion horsepower swapping that in there. But yeah, otherwise, performance-wise, that was it. It was that guy, it was that guy, and it was the exhaust that I showed you previously. One thing I tried doing at one point in time was yanking off the clutch fan for electronic cooling fans, but the wiring harness I bought, which was a cheap one and partially me patching together, I burnt up a lot of wires putting that on. So we went back to the clutch fan, and we never really got to see the benefits of relieving the crank of spinning a clutch fan and picking up some extra ponies that way. But that's really it. I think from here, I'm going to start cleaning this thing up. I'm going to at least blow the leaves out. This was stored kind of in a back alley. Definitely going to clean that interior out. Wouldn't surprise me if, hey, look, there's like a walnut in there. I was thinking that was a dead mouse, but it's a walnut, so. Get it cleaned up minimally. And like I said, there's going to be future episodes with this truck in it. At least one more. Getting it down to Wichita. Probably more than that for sure. But yeah, that's my vehicle, guys. Well, I hope you're as excited as I am for the next chapter of offbeat hot rodding, where this might go. I figure if I'm going to rebuild a motor ever, there's not going to be a motor that's more forgiving than a 300 inline 6. And just, again, how cool is it going to be that my first fill in the blank is going to be powered by the same motor that my first vehicle was. The exact same vehicle, or motor. 232,000 miles on the clicker. I sold it at 199,250 miles. I was that close to 200,000, but we're back. So anyway, it's kind of cool also to see the two trucks side by side, like just how much my Tacoma's lifted, how big the tires are in comparison. I think they're like 32s compared to the 31s, but I digress. I've just been chatting like a mile a minute, so I know you guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Leave a comment below what you think my fill in the blank is gonna be. I think they'll be fun just to see what you guys think I'm gonna be doing with the power plant. But like, comment, share, subscribe. I don't care which one you do, as long as you do one. It really helps the channel out. That's gonna do it for this episode. To all my 6 fans out there, thanks for watching.